Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well. Welcome to day 23. Today I thought I will change slightly things up, and I done exactly the same illustration as we have done on day 21 and 22, except for I have added a little bit more contrast to the center, just to bring things a little bit more in the foreground and pushing things slightly more into the background. Also, I think with day 22 I have pushed it a little bit maybe too far with giving myself just two colors to start with, and then I quickly realized I needed more colors, and then it just sort of wasn't flowing as it would naturally flow for me. I love color, and I think I kind of approach it really spontaneously and how I feel in the moment. So today I'm going to do exactly that. I'm going to use lovely colors and whatever comes to mind. I'm not going to limit myself to just two colors, but I thought it was really fun to do that on day 21 in this particular color palette. I have also changed things up in terms of the format. So today we're going to do the upside down rosette shape. So the main flower is going to be at the top, and then the flowers are going to be heading upwards, which is how you kind of naturally see flowers usually grow towards the sky. So we're going to do that. Also, I changed the swatches to be now at the top for this spread here. So it's kind of similar-ish, but just a few little changes. I have used the same strip from my palette swatches to add color swatches later on as we go. And I'm going to use today a few elements from Summer Florals and Botanical set. All of these stamp sets are available on my online shop, alyonacreates.com. So without further ado, let's start by adding some more botanical detail. I'm going to start by adding this ornamental little daisy element here, which is exactly the same as this one, but I want to go back and kind of revisit it and do it in the colors that I enjoy. So today we're going to stamp it off center to the side, and I'm going to use this element right here. Because both of the elements kind of go in a C shape, I want to add something to this side to reverse things the other way around. So I'm going to go in with these buds from here. As rosettes naturally are, there's the main flower and then things hang down. We're going to go up this way, so nothing around this area here. I'm now going to swap to my botanical set and use some of the individual leaves, and in fact I'm going to just add a little line similar to what we have done in this spread with the ikebanas, and this time I'm going to go with the smallest petal from the botanical set, and now I'm going to go into the second smallest, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to not go very close to the line. I'm going to just take some space, and I'm also going to go into a larger element, just this one. So you can see when you have the stamp set, things move fairly quickly. So I think I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to bring in the berries element as we have done throughout the ikebanas. So I quite like this sort of look we had going here, and I think that's going to pull in the contrast from the center really well. So I'm going to just add it in a few places and wipe off the long line and just get the berries to kind of stick out from behind the flower. And I think I'm going to do that in a few places. Now using 01, let's line things out. So now I just want to show you how to add a little bit more detail. So we're going to just go ahead and add a bit of contrast into some areas. With the berries, you can, if you wanted to, add just one or two, just kind of to change things up a little bit. Then with the 05, I'm going to quickly fill them in. At this point, before we go to watercolors, you can assess your piece and look at the composition and consider if you need to add anything. For example, I want to add a few berries just to break up these 4 lines that we have going on here. I don't want to add any more leaves because it would be a bit too full. So I'm just going to go into the same berries that we used and just stamp it, slightly overlapping the leaf. You can of course add watercolor to these berries instead of black. If you do that, then don't overlap your stamped images because you'll see the black line obviously. So I think now we connected this main area to that, so the eye will naturally kind of glide up. So I'm quite happy with the illustration. Let's move to adding some colors. So this time, like I said before, I'm going to just go with the colors that feel good, feel natural, and approach it that way. So I'm not going to count how many colors I'm using. I will just use whatever I use and then swatch it at the end. So I'm going to start with this lovely green. Then I want to use yellow for the petals. I'm just adding the color at the tip of the petal because I like the gradient effect, and I will go over it with a clean brush, blending it through the petal. First I'll give it a moment to settle. Next thing I want to do, I'm going to go into purple, which I actually don't have in this palette, but I do in the other. So there's this dioxazine purple, which is super intense. I'm just gonna add a little bit of it here. And I find that this purple works well as a contrasting color. Same thing, just at the top of the berries. And now I'm going to pull it out. Clean brush, not too much water. I believe this particular dioxazine that I've got here is by core, so that means it's gonna like to move quite a bit. That's why we need to be extra careful with adding water to it, as it will just run over everything that is in its way. I'm just gonna add a bit more of the color right at the top, so we still can see the purple. If we just loaded it up, it would be almost black. Now I'm going to wash out my brush really well and go into the yellow, wiggle my brush and create a gradient. So we're blending through that card line. Okay, let's think about the next color palette. What do we have here? Oh, I know which one. There's always the one that I like, and I've got it in both palettes. It's the green gold. I'm going for a color palette that is very summery and it will work no matter what. again, smaller brush for this one. I'm using 03 and 01, and I like to swap between the two brushes. Quite often I'm just holding the other one in my hand, ready to go. I was hoping to really simplify it with these rosettes and kind of go really basic, but I know myself, I just can't do basic, so I like a bit more effort, I like a bit more detail. And then as always, I'll just have a thicker mix of that same color, less water, more pigment, and just intensify it right at the base. That gives us that kind of depth, and it's not just flat watercolor. Okay, so we've got the other leaves left, and I think I would like to add a little bit of sub-green into this, which I don't think I have in this palette. So there's my sub-green, and I'm going to use a bit of that purple in the sub-green to mute it down a little bit more. And add it to the top leaves. Now I'm going to load it up again and create a more saturated mix, and again same thing as before, add that throughout. Sometimes I even go through the length of the leaf on one side to make one side darker than the other. So now all that is left to consider is the main flower, what kind of color I want there. So we've got a bunch of greens, a bit of yellow, a bit of purple, and now let's think about the flower itself. I think I'm going to go for rhodonite pink, which is a pink that's not too bright, and I really like it when I want to use pink, but I don't want to have a screaming color. And I'm going to wiggle through my brush so we don't have any hard edges, and bring it in a little bit to the center with the tip of my brush. And we're also going to build up on this color a little bit more on one side. I actually feel like I want to do this throughout the entire circumference. So what you can do before you go on and swatch these, if you want to be super kind of neat and organized, you can use a spare piece of paper and quickly drop down the colors that you just used, count the numbers, and then count how many you have stamped out. You could potentially make 2 swatches out every color and give yourself like a darker mix and a lighter mix. In my case, it's going to be that, except for I'm going to be left with 1 extra swatch. So what I'm going to do is for the purple, I'm going to do 3 swatches. Because it's such an intense color, I'm going to swatch it at its really dark, which is going to be almost black, then a medium, and then a light one, so I can stretch out the color quite a bit, and that's what I'm going to do. But again, you can sort of leave stamping these until you are done and then count exactly how many you need. So let's start by doing the yellow first. So I'm gonna do a nice kind of vibrant swatch, and then a lighter one, so with more water, less pigment. Next one, we use this milky green, and same thing. Then we have sub green, then we have, no sorry, that was gold green, now it's sub green. Then we have pink, and now the purple. Super dark, then kind of middle range, and a light one. Okay, so this is looking rather nice. I'm going to let it dry and then show you some close-ups. So things are dry now, and I have to say this is making me very happy. The colors are super neatly organized, they look so gorgeous, and when I look at them, there is just something that works so well. And I love the colors that we have throughout the illustration as well, and as a whole it makes a very neat page in your sketchbook, because you have your swatches, you have your illustration right next to it, and I like it a lot personally. So that is it for today, and I am going to see you tomorrow for day 24.